Far away, in a distant land, there lived a kind and hard-working ant named Fromi. She was beloved throughout the colony, for whenever an ant needed help, Fromi was there, always ready with a clever solution or a steady hand. In that same land ruled Queen Isabella, a cruel and ungrateful sovereign over 4,552 ants. Word of Fromi's gentle spirit eventually reached the palace, and the queen demanded that she be summoned at once. When Fromi arrived, the queen questioned her about her simple life and the quiet joy that seemed to follow her wherever she went. Listening to Fromi's answers, Queen Isabella grew bitterly jealous. "If you truly wish to prove your loyalty," the queen declared, "bring me the largest grain of wheat in the kingdom." Fromi searched high and low, among wildflowers and along winding paths, until she discovered a golden grain worthy of a queen. She carried it back with pride. Queen Isabella stared at it in amazement, but her envy only deepened. "Surely you can find one even bigger," she said with a dismissive wave of her antennae. Exhausted from the first journey, Fromi set out again. She trudged through vineyards and beneath towering trees until she found a second golden grain, even larger than the first, glistening with a drop of fresh dew. By the time she returned at dusk, her shoulders ached terribly. The queen barely glanced at it. "This is still too small," she sneered. "Tomorrow you will bring me one twice as large, or face the consequences." Fromi's heart sank. How could she possibly manage such an impossible task alone? The next morning, she wandered through fields and ditches until she found the largest grain of wheat she had ever seen. She pushed with all her might. The grain didn't budge. In Queen Isabella's kingdom, ants worked only for themselves. The queen's motto was firm: "A worthy grain is one that can be carried alone. Anything more does not count." Fromi tried again, using a stick as a lever. The grain shifted slightly, then rolled right back into place. Just then, her dear friend Yatusha appeared. Seeing Fromi's distress, she joined in without a word. Soon Unina arrived and lent her strength as well. Before long, more and more ants came to help. Friends, neighbors, and strangers, until 123 ants were working together, pushing and pulling the enormous grain all the way to the palace. Inside, Queen Isabella sat on her throne, smirking as she imagined Fromi defeated. Suddenly, the palace guards burst in. "Your Majesty," they cried, "Fromi has returned, and she has brought the largest grain of wheat we have ever seen." The queen nearly tumbled from her throne. Staring at the gigantic grain in disbelief, she demanded, "How could you possibly have carried this alone?" Trembling but honest, Fromi told the whole story. Queen Isabella flew into a rage. "A grain that cannot be carried alone does not count," she shouted, ordering Fromi to be thrown into prison. Outside the palace, the 123 ants who had helped Fromi stood together, shaking their antennae in quiet disappointment. "This is no way to treat our friend," they whispered. They told others. Those ants told even more. Soon, the entire kingdom knew of the injustice. "This is wrong," the ants murmured. From that day forward, they began helping one another carry the heaviest grains. Working together, they brought the largest harvest safely home. Soon, many of the kingdom's signs were quietly changed to read, "A grain that cannot be carried alone still counts." Queen Isabella could not ignore what she saw. Thanks to the ants' newfound spirit of cooperation, the kingdom survived the winter in comfort and abundance, free from hunger and fear. Though it pained her pride, her heart softened, just a little. Reluctantly, she released Fromi from prison. That evening, all 4,552 ants gathered to celebrate Fromi with the grandest feast anyone had ever seen. Even Queen Isabella watched from a distance, silent and thoughtful. And from that day on, even in Queen Isabella's kingdom, a grain that could not be carried alone still counted, especially when friends like Yatusha and Unina were there to help.